I'd like to welcome everyone to ATTO Technologies Celerity Gen 6 Fiber Channel Host Adapter webinar. I'm Michelle Seifert, International Sales Executive for the EMEA and the Latin American region. Today's agenda topics will be Gen 6 Fiber Channel Overview, All-Flash Arrays Accelerating Storage Today, the next step, NVMe over Fiber Channel, and then finally we'll talk about how is ATTO supporting this transition in the market. Presenting today we have Pete Donnelly. He's the Product Management Group Leader for ATTO Technology. At this point, welcome Pete, and thank you for presenting to us today.
Hi, good afternoon. As Michelle mentioned, my name is Peter Donnelly, and thanks for joining us this afternoon. Today I want to talk about a couple different things, but I want to start by talking about our fiber channel host adapters that we've introduced recently because it ties in nicely to all-flash storage as well as some future direction of where we see the industry going, which I think will be very interesting for you and also for your customers. Just moving the slides ahead here, so pardon me as we move ahead. There we go. ATTO has been in the fiber channel industry for over 20 years. We've been around as a company for 30, and about 2/3 of those years have been dealing with fiber channel. One of the things that we've learned with our experience in fiber channel is that low latency is incredibly important for our storage customers. We started out working with SSDs as part of our initial product offering. So we know how important low network latency is to our customers, and we continue to develop that technology for our current fiber channel product family. Some of the features that you'll see in our product line that speak to that are advanced data streaming, which manages our latency in high bandwidth environments. Basically, we are able to keep a very high, consistently high performance level. The other product feature that we have that speaks to latency is multipath director, where we are able to bring workstations into low latency enterprise environments. We're finding that there is a convergence in the industry of workstations and servers, and we're helping to drive that with our multipath director drivers. Quick overview of our product line. We have a full-featured product line that includes 32 gigabit, 16 gigabit, as well as 8 gigabit host adapters. We also offer 8 gigabit and 16 gigabit fiber channel switches. As far as our 32 gigabit adapters are concerned, we have single, dual, and quad channel adapters. The only exception is our 32 gigabit quad port adapter will not be available until the second quarter of this year, when we'll start to sample that to our partners. And in the 32 gigabit switch area, we expect to have and start shipping a 32 gigabit switch probably fourth quarter of this year. It's going to take a little bit of time for that market to mature, but by the end of the year, we will offer that product. We continue to offer a very broad driver support package that includes Linux, Mac OS, Windows, VMware, for virtual environments, as well as some specialty OSs. We support FreeBSD and Illumos for folks who are getting involved in software-defined storage and other specialty operating systems. So we're able to support that. We offer both target and initiator driver support, which is important to know that we support both ends of the wire as well as switches in the middle. So we can control latency all the way from server to storage. And our customers and your customers will know that we're able to offer the absolute lowest latency and highest performance throughout the storage infrastructure. When I talk about latency, one of the things that I want to talk about in particular is performance. The latest Generation 6, Gen 6 cards that we offer have a multi-core architecture that fully supports port isolation. And what that means is that ATTO is able to get full performance across multiple ports. Our competitors do not have a multi-core architecture, so what you'll find is that the full performance is split across all of the ports. even if one of the ports is in standby, you will only get partial performance. So ATTO is able to get much higher performance, and not even if you have bad cables or other hardware issues, you don't end up having one port stuck at half speed because of that. The reason that's important is because what we find is about 80% of our HBAs are sold into dual port in an active standby mode. So it's important to know that competitive products will only give you half the performance of ATTO products in those type of environments. And here's how that shows up in the real world. You'll notice the two lines that you want to take a look at on this graph are the dark purple line on top and the solid blue line just underneath that. This is a graph that shows sequential reads, sequential IOP reads. You'll notice that especially at the lower block sizes, ATTO is able to get a pretty significant performance advantage over our competitors. The reason that that's important is that more performance gives you allows you to support a much larger number of SSDs. And we know that our customers are trying to maximize the return out of investment. So the more SSDs you can support on a single fiber channel adapter, the better. If we take a look at this at a similar, we can take a look at a similar, oops, I'm sorry, I moved ahead one too many slides. Get a similar picture here with sequential writes and IOPS. Again, the dark purple line on top and the solid blue line just underneath that are the ones that you want to take a look at. What it shows is that ATTO, again, has a very significant performance advantage over the competition because of our multi-core architecture, especially at the low block sizes. Again, gives you better support for SSDs. You can support more SSDs on a host adapter, so you get a higher density. So the question at hand is, why is that important? What ATTO sees in the market is that all-flash arrays that use are entirely comprised of SSDs, are becoming much more commonplace, and Fibre channel is the storage protocol that is being used to deliver the performance for these all-flash arrays. We see Fibre channel as the premier data center storage protocol for at least the next decade. 32 gigabit Fibre channel was just released last year. It started to hit the market, and we're already starting to look at next generation Fibre channel. So at least the next decade, we will see Fibre channel as the core data center storage protocol. What we're also seeing is that all-flash arrays are starting to become more popular. Already, all-flash arrays are about a $4 billion market, and we see that growing to where they will be almost 50% of the external storage market by 2020, which is a tremendous growth, almost 29% cumulative growth rate. So what you'll see is that the performance bottleneck is being pushed out of the array and into the storage network, and that's why today 16 gigabit Fibre channel is almost a must-have to be able to support some of these advanced storage arrays. But within, we think, 3 to 5 years at the most, 32 gigabit Fibre channel will become the de facto standard, because you're going to need that type of performance to support the latest and greatest all-flash arrays. So we see a convergence here between all-flash arrays and Fibre channel, where shared storage or shared accelerated storage is becoming the architecture that people are using. And when I talk about shared accelerated storage, what I'm talking about is getting SSDs into the external storage. The solution, say 5 years ago, was to use server-side flash, but that was very expensive. The other thing is server-side flash can only service a single server at one time, which is not very cost-effective or efficient. The economy of that it doesn't scale very well. If you can move the SSDs and the flash off into the network, it becomes much more economical because that flash can be shared between multiple servers. What we're also seeing is that the performance of these all-flash arrays is getting to be pretty incredible. It is not uncommon to see a single 1U rack of storage give you over 1 million IOPS. So that is easily able to support multiple servers. The other thing that's interesting and why we think that there's a convergence between these technologies, between all-flash arrays and Fibre channel, is that Fibre channel is a very useful protocol. It supports SCSI as well as some other newly emerging technologies like NVMe, and you can support both of those simultaneously. Finally, what we're seeing is that all-flash arrays, which are based on PCI SSDs today, we think that within the next 3 to 5 years, they will switch very significantly towards NVMe. So the technology is shifting towards all-flash arrays used over Fibre channel, and we think the next step will be these all-flash arrays will be taking advantage of NVMe drives. Which is where we want to talk about, which is where we want to go to next, and talk about NVMe. NVMe is used today for boot drives and internal drives in servers and workstations. It has not quite made it to the mainstream in enterprise storage, but we think that it will very shortly, and that's kind of our message today, that Fibre channel will be the protocol that will help bring NVMe into mainstream enterprise storage. NVMe is completely different than the SCSI interface that we know and love today. SCSI was designed for spinning drives, for hard disks, and it has a lot of latency built into the protocol because it presumes that your spinning media is fairly slow. SSDs have changed the game and they have very low latencies. Unfortunately, they're still dependent on a SCSI protocol that is slow and holds the SSDs back. And this is where NVMe comes in and why it was developed. It was built from the ground up to be a low latency, low power, and high performance protocol, specifically to support SSDs, non-volatile flash. This was a standard that was developed by over 100 companies, and the standard is in the final, final stages of ratification and updates today. Question that you may ask is, why am I going to use NVMe, or what is NVMe most useful for? NVMe is based on a standard PCIe architecture, and that's its biggest advantage. The hardware changes are minimal. It'll continue to use the PCIe 3 bus that we have today, which will give you about 1 gigabyte per second performance. And we would expect that in 2019 or 2020 at the latest, we will jump up to the PCIe 4 specification and see double that performance, almost 2 gigabytes per second per lane. So NVMe is based on PCIe, so it is fully compatible with existing hardware. NVMe provides lower latency. It's a very lean protocol and very lean command set, which means that it's very easy to process these commands, and it's very quick. Doesn't use very much CPU, does not use very many CPU cycles. It's also low power, and it's optimized for SSDs. At a minimum, we see that the NVMe standard, if you want to compare it to some of the technologies that are out there today, it's at least 1.5 to 3 times as fast as 12 gigabit SAS. So it is a it's very much a game changer for companies who need to work on low latency applications. The other thing you'll find with NVMe is it's able to support very large queue depths. You can imagine when you're trying to support millions of IOPS per drive, you need to queue up a lot of commands so that you don't starve the drive. NVMe is specifically built to support very, very large queue depths. And as you see in the last bullet there, it supports up to 64,000 queues of 64,000 commands. So it's just a massive queue depth to support these millions of IOPS. The neat thing about NVMe and Fibre Channel is that these two technologies are coming together in what we call an NVMe over Fabric standard. What this means is that customers will be able to take NVMe and route it over a standard Fibre Channel fabric, which is kind of a neat change in the market, one that we think lots of our customers will want to take advantage of over the next few years. There's a couple different transport options available in, pardon me, in Fibre Channel. You will be able to support SAS. You'll also be able to support NVMe along with others as well. You can do all these simultaneously, but it is very easy to support these NVMe over Fabric architectures over with existing hardware. Our current Gen 6 adapters already support NVMe over Fabrics, so you'll be able to bring these super fast NVMe drives in the all-flash array and support it in a shared Fibre Channel environment using your existing Gen 6 host adapters that you're purchasing today. It does require some driver development, which we are already working on, and we would expect by the end of the second quarter we'll be able to fully support NVMe over Fabrics and start to work with partners on bringing this technology to enterprise environments as well as some small medium scale businesses. So if you're interested, we certainly have opportunities to probably towards the end of the second quarter to work with you to try to bring these technologies to market. And last but not least, I want to just give a quick shout out to some of the more esoteric reasons why working with ATTO continues to be the right choice. ATTO does focus on customized solutions for you and your customers. We have specialized target mode drivers, so we're able to support both initiator and target mode if you want to look at your own storage development. We also do custom SKUs as well as have a very flexible distribution model to support our resellers and our system integrators. The other thing that we think sets us apart is our industry-leading support. We continue to work with a direct model where you can call in and you can talk to one of our tech support or customer engineering folks and get your problem solved quickly. We understand that time is money for you and that you want to be able to give answers to your customer, and that's really what we work on, is to give you a support model that allows you to answer your customers' questions as quickly as possible. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle again for some questions and some follow-up.
All right, thanks, Pete. So at this point, everyone, what we'd like to do is just take a couple of seconds, a quick pause, and let you type in any questions that you have. And we'll take a few minutes here to answer a couple of questions that come in. So at this point, if you would, just type in your questions and we'll be happy to answer them. So I actually have one in already, Pete, that I'd like to roll off and ask you. This question is, what challenges are there to implementing NVMe for shared storage?
Sure, great question. One of the things that we think is challenging for resellers and integrators is that NVMe is primarily right now used inside the box. You can have it as a boot drive, or you can use it for some small storage needs inside the server. We see that scalability continues to be a challenge for NVMe technology, and that's where we think that ATTO, working with some other storage partners, can bring this technology into a completely new place. We think that we can help solve the scalability issue with NVMe so that you can have large all-flash arrays working with NVMe drives in a Fibre Channel environment. That convergence of those three technologies, Fibre Channel, all-flash arrays, and NVMe, we think will be a dynamic change in the enterprise storage environment, and that will be something that will once again change the storage industry.
All right, and we have time for one more. And this question, I'm going to pick this because it's something in sales that I get asked a lot. So while we have you, Pete, the question is, when does ATTO expect to start shipping a quad port 32 gig adapter?
Sure. We released our Gen 6 products last July, I think it was. So we've been shipping Gen 6 16 gig and 32 gig for about 9 months now. The one exception is, as Michelle points out, is our quad port 32 gigabit adapter. We do see demand for that, especially because the density of having 4 ports on a single PCE slot is very attractive. We have that project underway, and we would expect that by the end of the second quarter, we would be able to bring that to market and have it fully commercialized. If any of you have need for that sooner, just check in with your sales folks, let them know, and then we'll see what we can do about getting some beta or some early product out to you. And although it wasn't, Michelle didn't ask it specifically in the question, I'll also talk about our 32 gigabit switches. We see those releasing towards the end of the year.
So then, Pete, we'll have 8 gig, 16 gig, and 32 gig fiber channel switch?
We will.
As well?
Yes, we will.
Awesome. All right, so at this point, I would like to conclude our webinar, and I'd like to thank Pete Donnelly for presenting, and I'd like to thank everyone for joining. You can always communicate back to ATTO. If you don't have a specific person, you can go to our website and let us know if you'd like a copy of this. We have recorded this webinar. Please feel free again to ask for the recording. We'll be posting it on the Resource Center also on our website within the next day or so. And I'd like to thank everyone very much for joining. Thank you.